You're listening to Bluebird Broadcast. I'm your host, creator, and producer of the show, Milena Karpukhina. We're so excited to share this play by Mary Beringer today, who's a writer in Ohio. They work for a nonprofit by day and write queer and strong women leading stories by night. And today you'll be hearing Mary Beringer's adaptation of Robert W. Service's poem, The Cremation of Sam McGee, titled Me and Sam. You'll be hearing the voices of Wyatt Cohen as Cap and Lachlan Quertermous as Sam. Don't forget to follow Bluebird Theatre Company on all the social media platforms to keep up with new releases and updates on our audio and visual performances. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Day 1. I figured I'd start my record here, since I arrived in Juneau today. The plane that flew me out was shaking the whole time, and I thought I was going to throw up. I asked the pilot how often he comes up here. He said only if there's people paying, which ain't often. I got the feeling he was waiting for a tip or something when we parted ways, but I'm going to need all the money I've got if I'm going to hire someone to come along on this boondoggle with me. I don't want to stay in this big city long. The whole place makes me nervous. Day 4. I've been here the better part of a week, and I still can't convince anybody to travel with me. Though it's probably my fault. I must sound like a crazy person talking about what I plan to do. I was never great with people, but I know I can't do this alone. Carrying the gear alone is a huge task. Carrying the spoils back will be even harder. I did find someone who was willing to sell me a dog sled and a few hounds, though he seemed a little anxious about it, like he felt bad sending animals on a mission that's doomed to fail. They all think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But I'm going to be crazy and goddamn rich at the end of this. And then who's laughing? Day 6. Success! I found someone. He might be a city slicker who's never roughed it a day in his life, but I mostly just need a warm body. I met him at one of the bars in town. I saw him sipping on a beer halfway to drunk, and he was talking to the bartender.
This is my last buck, you know that? And I'm spinning on a Pabst Blue Ribbon. Does that seem right to you? Seems like an awful shame to me.
I felt like I had to take a chance. I talked to every sober person in town. Why not start in on the drunks? I asked if he'd like a few more dollars to buy some decent swill.
Well, that'd be mighty kind of you. In fact, it'd be the nicest thing anyone's done for me since I got to Alaska.
I knew what he meant. People up here weren't unkind, they just kept to themselves mostly. I paid for a shot for each of us. I couldn't really spare the money, given that I was already behind schedule, but in for a penny and all that.
My name's Sam McGee. I just got here from Nashville.
I asked him what brought him to Alaska, all the way from Tennessee. He shrugged.
I've always been a bit of a wanderer, and I heard that there was work, but I haven't found any of it yet, and it's colder than the Devil's Johnson up here.
I pointed out that the Devil's Johnson would probably be pretty hot, being in hell and all. He must have thought that was pretty funny, or maybe he was just drunk, because he laughed really hard at that.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe that's my problem. I'm thinking about it all wrong. Either way, I'll probably wander off somewhere else soon.
This was my chance. I explained that I had a job and was looking for a partner in it. I told him that if it all went right, it was the last job he'd ever need. He really liked the sound of that.
I can't say I'm not interested, Cap. You make it sound awful tempting, but what exactly would we be doing? I may be drunk, and I may be an idiot, but I've got standards. I won't be hurting anybody.
So I told him we'd be looking for gold.
Gold? Up here? I thought all that got dug up and panned out years ago.
This is why everyone thinks I'm crazy. It's been decades since any significant vein was found up here. But I've got a plan. I was afraid to tell him. I've been afraid to tell anyone since I got here. Afraid they'd screw me over and get the scoop, but something about Sam made me trust him. So I pulled the map out of my pocket and folded it out on the bar. I explained that my granddad left me this map from his mining days.
Let me guess. He's got a secret mine up here that no one knows about?
Better. It's so much better. The gold has already been mined. It's on a boat, and the boat is stuck in the ice. My granddad had to abandon it when they ran out of fuel. But nobody knows about the gold. They ran the ship ashore, so it should still be there, just waiting for us to come pick up our prize. I folded up the map real quick so he couldn't memorize the route or anything, and I looked at him, fully expecting him to call me crazy or stupid or any of the dozens of other things I've been called since I got to Alaska. But Sam just smiled.
When are we heading out?
Day 8. We had to take a couple days to get ready, but today was me and Sam's first day on the trail. We only made it about 40 miles. I'd read that a dog sled team can do 100 if you know what you're doing. But I guess I didn't really know what I'm doing. And if I don't know what I'm doing, then Sam's completely clueless. I'm already starting to wonder if I made the right call bringing him along. He's a city slicker through and through. I like my creature comforts, but at least I've been in the wild before. I don't know if Sam's boots have ever been off pavement until now. We'll see how far we can go tomorrow. Hopefully the first day is the hardest. Day 11. We're already off schedule. Far off schedule. I don't know if it's my fault or Sam's or the dog's, but we're not making the time I planned. And Sam's still whining about the cold. To his credit, he doesn't whine about much. I told him we might not be home in time for Christmas at this rate.
That's alright, I don't even celebrate it, so that's no bother to me. Just wish I can get some feeling back in my toes.
Day 14. There's not much to do on the road but talk. And Sam likes to talk. He can't say much when we're mushing with all the noise, but when we set up camp and gather around the fire, his mouth starts to flappen. It's a little annoying, but I'm starting to get used to it, and I think it'd be worse to be out here alone.
You remember what we talked about at the bar? What I was saying about the Devil's Johnson being cold? I know you said I had it backwards, but I'm starting to think I might have been right all along. I think hell must be this kind of cold. This bitter chill that cuts right through you. I mean, hell's supposed to be the worst thing you can imagine, right? Not to say I'm not grateful for the work and the pleasant company, but I can't think of something worse than how it gets out here.
I told him that he should write a book when we get back, to share his new philosophy on hell.
Shoot, maybe I will. Put old Dante out of business? And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong. I don't even believe in hell. Not really. But if hell's hot, well then I'd rather be there.
Day 18. We're well off the established trails now. We're cutting our own path through the snow. It'd be pretty if I weren't so worried all the time. We're getting deeper and deeper into winter now, and further away from civilization. We have to keep feeding the dogs so they can pull us out of here when we're done. But that's meant our own meals have gotten smaller and smaller. Sam doesn't complain, though. He only has one complaint.
I wish it weren't so damn cold.
Day 23. We've got to be close. It can't be far now. I can almost taste it, and the hope is warming me through. I can't say the same for Sam, though. The more I think back to that night I talked Sam into this, the sicker I feel. He was drunk. I got him drunk so I could bring him on this stupid mission. I promised when we're done with this, he'll get a bigger cut than I originally promised. He's earned it at this point. He just smiled.
That's mighty kind of you.
I kind of got the feeling he was thinking about something else. Day 27. I messed up. We took a wrong turn a few days back, and we're going to have to spend a couple days making up the difference. I tried to think if there was some way to not tell Sam, to let him think I'd planned it in this way. But in the end, I knew he deserved the truth. When I told him, he wasn't mad at all, though. He was looking up at the northern lights, and he was grinning.
You ever see anything like that, Cap? They don't have that in Tennessee.
I lied and told him I'd never seen it before. It was real pretty. We just stood there for a while watching the lights.
I reckon I won't make it out of here.
I tried to tell him we'd be okay. We'd get out just fine. But he wouldn't let me talk.
We're too far out to turn back now. Our best chance is to go for the prize. I know that. And maybe we will make it home. I don't know. But if I die, I'm hoping you'll do me one favor.
I told him I'd do what I could.
I'm not much scared of dying. Like I said, I don't believe in hell and all that. But there is something that bothers me about the thought of being cold forever. Would you do me a favor, just one, and burn me up when I die? It'd bring me some peace.
We'd been out in the wilderness together for a while, and after everything that happened, I'd come to think of Sam as a friend. And it was such a simple request, so I promised. I promised I wouldn't leave him to an icy grave.
Thanks, Cap.
Day 29. All day yesterday, Sam was talking about Tennessee. He told me all about his favorite bars, favorite foods, favorite places. He told me about the music he'd hear and the people he'd meet. Even when the dogs were barking or the wind was roaring and I couldn't hear him, he'd keep on babbling. His voice was just a raspy whisper by the time we set up camp. He kept talking while I set up the fire, while I wrapped him in blankets. At some point, he stopped talking and just watched the fire. I was thankful for the quiet. Then I woke up this morning, and he was gone. I felt awful. I felt awful for a lot of reasons. Day 32. Traveling with a frozen body is a hell of a task, but I made a promise. I swore I'd cremate his remains, and that's what I'm going to do. Sam deserves better than being left in the snow for the bears. I'm still headed for the ship, even though it feels wrong now. However much gold is there, it won't have been worth it. But maybe I can track down the McGees in Tennessee, send them some money when this is all over. God, I hope it's over soon. Day 34. I made it to the ship. It's hard to miss it in this kind of landscape. My granddad ran it aground on the shore of this lake, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. I got inside it as soon as I could and went to the stores where Granddad told me he hid his stash. There's gold, all right. Plenty. I don't even know how I'll get all of it out of here. But it all feels hollow. All I can think about is how Sam would have been thankful that the ship gives some shelter from the cutting wind. He wouldn't have cared about the gold either. Day 35. I figured out what I'm going to do. The ship's furnace seems like the best course of action, given that it's built for handling heat and all. It took a little maneuvering, but I managed to get Sam inside and a fire started. I couldn't stick around for long. Once the sizzling started, it was the most awful sound. I took a hike, which seems stupid when you've been on the road as long as we have. But I'd rather listen to the howling wind than the burning. I wasn't too worried about getting lost, since every time I looked back I could see the thick black smoke reaching into the sky. Day 36. The smoke is still going, but I figured it's time I looked. I don't know why, but I just felt like I ought to make sure I made good on my promise, so I went back into the ship and down to the boiler room. I opened the door on the furnace, and this big gust of hot air hit me in the face. And there he was, looking cool and calm in the middle of the roaring flames.
Would you mind closing the door?
He was smiling.
It's nice in here, but I'm afraid you'll let in the cold. Since I left Tennessee, this is the first time I've been warm.
Day 72. I left him there. I don't feel entirely right about it, but I wouldn't have felt right pulling him out either. I closed the door and I left him there. I'm back in Juneau now, and nobody's asked what happened to the young Tennessee boy I took with me on my trip. Most people just take their money and go. I don't think anyone would believe me if I told them. No, I won't tell anybody. Sam didn't have any family as far as I know, but I'll keep looking. If I find them, I'll give them some gold and tell them he got eaten by a bear. That's probably kinder than the truth. No, I can't tell anyone. I'll never tell anyone about the cremation of Sam McGee.
Thanks again for listening to Me and Sam by Mary Beringer, performed by Wyatt, Cohen, and Lachlan Quertermous. If you enjoyed this Bluebird Broadcast audio production, don't forget to listen to all our releases anywhere you get your podcasts. This is Milena Karpukhina with Bluebird Theatre Company, and we'll see you next time with another release of Bluebird Broadcast.